Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Pastors of Pain podcast radio show. We're on 94.3 and AM 780 in Stillwater. We are on a podcast, which you can get on, Spotify, Google, Apple, all of the various ways. But we're glad to be with you. Father Carey, not here. Your pastor of St. John's has once again abandoned you because he's trying to build a building, trying to build a new Catholic student center at OSU. And so it has to be out on the road, talking to people, raising money, building support. So if he were here, he would say, go to buildingsaints.com and donate. You can buy bricks. You can give him $1 million. Or anything in between. But anyway, he's out on the road. So this week, ladies and gentlemen, very special guest. You know her, you love her. She is the director of Evangelization and Mission at St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Stacy Humbert. Welcome, Stacy.
Hello, Father. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. I love it. We've been talking about this for a long time and getting Stacy on the show to talk about life and conversion and evangelization and all kinds of good stuff. So just we are in the season of Lent still. So you're hearing this in and around the third Sunday of Lent. Very exciting this weekend. We have the bishop. The bishop is coming. So
Very
he's got the Bishop Condrela will have the 11:15 Mass and the 1 p.m. Mass in Spanish. And then is going to go over to St. John's for the 5 o'clock Mass. So he'll be with us kind of all day. Nice. Really, which is kind of fun that the successor of the apostles gets to come to good old Payne County. And then, of course, all the good Lenten stuff, Stations of the Cross every Friday, daily Mass. Very excited. We now at St. Francis Xavier, we've added another day of adoration. Yes. So we used to have adoration all day, and we still do, on Wednesdays all day, and now we have it on Thursdays. That's right. All day. We are growing. That's what happens when you love the Lord. Okay, so Stacy, tell us about yourself. What are you, how did you get, you're not from Stillwater. Correct. You have some Stillwater roots a little bit. Yes. How did you get here? Tell us the story, because you're kind of even a fairly new Catholic.
I am.
In the grand scheme of things.
In the grand scheme
compared
of
to
life.
Pope Francis.
True enough.
Yeah.
And in my 40 plus years.
So tell us.
Okay. Well, first of all, you mentioned Bishop Condrela. It's actually kind of neat. So I went to the Rite of Election a couple weeks ago for RCIA.
Yep.
Saw him this past weekend for a catechist retreat.
Oh, you guys are best friends.
And then this weekend, he's coming to the parish. So yes, that's very exciting.
You guys are going to be.
I know. But I think that's the most diocesan involvement I've had.
Besties. Well, you have more Oklahoma City connections than Tulsa connections.
Yes, which is a good segue. So yes, I have been in Stillwater since August of 2018. August 15th,
coming
actually.
Up on 3 years.
Correct. And since then, I have been working, at the parish, and it's been very exciting and very awesome. It's ever changing and ever growing as we get things moving.
Never a dull moment.
That's right. But so I am a newer Catholic, I guess you could say. I feel like I've been Catholic my whole life, which I think many converts say. Huh. But essentially, I grew up in a Catholic home in a sense. My mom was a very devout Catholic. But then, for various reasons, we were not very involved in the church. So actually in 2013 is when I came into the church, fully received all 3 sacraments of initiation.
You were never baptized?
I was never baptized.
Okay.
I was baptized out of desire, which is...
I love it. I love it. You can look that up in the catechism.
Another podcast.
It's in there.
Yes, which is probably
We've talked about that before.
It's not valid.
Well, it is if you die.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's better to be actually
correct
physically.
That's what my mom always says.
Baptized, yeah.
So, yes. So I came into the church 2013. Very particular time for me, actually, because that was when Pope Francis also became Pope.
Yeah.
So
March of 13.
Correct. So while I was in RCIA, the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults. Yeah. What we use to bring people into becoming Catholic. I got to experience a conclave and was very, very excited.
Yeah. That's not a...
Yes.
I mean, in my life, I've had 2 that I remember.
I was like on the radio, it kept cutting out because it was on Catholic radio, actually.
Yeah.
So anyways, it was very, very exciting. So, but with Pope Francis coming in, and through my conversion, which was actually quite powerful, encountered Jesus in a very personal and real way through the Catholic Church. And then Pope Francis coming in and really opening up, the conversation about missionary discipleship, evangelization, and all that good stuff.
Taking it to the peripheries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Opening up our doors wide and, hospital for sinners and all.
Love it.
Yes. So it was very good. It was very timely. So through the past several years after that, I, went through continuing in my conversion journey, but just kept feeling this call to work in the church. And so listened and prayed consistently and, kept pursuing education, formation, different things in various ways, leadership in the church level, and then also pastoral ministry and theology and that kind of thing. Finally, around June of 18, I saw the job posting for director of evangelization.
I got here January of 18 and kind of set the course of like, what are we doing here? Let's have an awesome parish. But what awesome parishes do, they evangelize the local area.
Yep.
And then, I remember like kind of looking around at lots of other, parishes that were both in and around Oklahoma, but also kind of internationally that were, just had massive, awesome discipleship-based outreach.
Yes.
And it seemed like all of them had, in addition to the pastor who was, kind of doing all that, that there was somebody else who directed the work of evangelization.
Yes.
And so we kind of put together multiple different job descriptions and put it out there, and then you showed up.
Here I am.
I love it.
So really it was the job itself was an answer to many years of prayer.
We were praying, you were praying.
Yep. And, and like I said, it's been interesting. I think you and I have really kind of adapted and modified this role. And again, I think it's still, it's still moving. That flywheel we've been talking about keeps going. But so, I feel very grateful. And so my family and I moved here officially in November of 18 to Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Yeah, you were commuting from Oklahoma City.
Yep. So then we moved, and now we, have a little piece of property in the woods and
dig it.
Yep.
You got some land.
That's right.
That's what we like about.
Yes.
Stillwater.
It's wonderful.
Love it. So what do you do all day?
Well, it depends
what is a typical day, or what's a typical week, I guess, to say?
There is some routine to my role that's developed a little bit over time. Many days it's, whatever the Holy Spirit will send.
Yeah, whoever's calling.
That's right.
You're
whatever
trying to
comes.
respond to needs. Yeah.
Pretty much. Right now, one of the kind of key things I've been doing is overseeing RCIA, the process, we use, the church uses to bring people in to becoming Catholic. So I oversee that process, getting catechists ready, sometimes, rarely, but sometimes teaching myself, kind of keeping that machine going, but definitely always with the vision of tying it to our mission as a parish and evangelizing. So that is a big part of my day. So when we actually have quite a few people this year, so it has been, more work.
Yeah,
in
a lot
sense.
Of individual attention to,
right.
So when somebody says they grew up in some other Christian tradition or they're coming from no religious background and they say, I want to be a Catholic.
Right.
It's not like a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Every person is a little different, a little journey, their ages. I mean, we have from 7-year-olds to a couple in their 80s.
That's right.
And, all very different.
Yeah.
And so it requires a kind of a personal touch. Yeah, we were talking about the last episode, Father Carey and I were talking about like just good things that are happening in the Catholic Church, kind of worldwide. The Pope's going to Iraq this week. We were talking about like the Bible in a Year podcast, and just how popular that is. The spread of the church, especially in the Southern Hemisphere, is like, it's just really... Anyway, then we talked about locally of just, we have, I think it's probably 30 people that are in varying stages of becoming Catholic. And then conversations. We're always just having conversations with more and more people who are...
Definitely.
Interested and have been invited to Mass by somebody, somewhere along the way. And so, meeting those people where they are. And then we call it like year-round RCIA. So if anyone's listening and you're interested in learning more about the Catholicism, it's not I have to wait till September. Just let's go. Let's go now.
Yeah.
We'll put you on kind of a track and it's based on what you need. Exactly. So for some people it's a knowledge thing. A lot of people, it's just a movement of the heart to where's the Lord calling you? And
Yeah, so that's, kind of working through those kinds of things is pretty consistent. So we also utilize this other series called Christ Life, and we manage that. We have some small groups going, kind of overseeing those. Really, it's just trying to implement things and aligning like ministries, our youth ministry, our children's ministry, working with our youth minister and our children's minister to align everything that we're doing with the mission of the parish.
Yeah.
And ultimately, of course, the goal being to go make disciples. So
dig it.
Yes.
How do you do that? So you're like because and it is something we work on a lot. So that the goal is that anything the parish is doing is coming back to the mission.
Right.
But it's hard because there's all these other even sometimes kind of good things that we get asked to do or try to get pulled in on.
Yes.
But that maybe aren't worth the effort, aren't going to bear the fruit that we want to. And it's hard.
It's really difficult.
Saying no to certain things and just focusing on what's really going to bring about the kind of conversion that we want.
Yeah. There's 4 words that I'm actually totally stealing from another book. But
steal away.
That's right. That. We don't reinvent the wheel. So
don't steal except unless it's a good idea.
That's right. We're just reusing.
From another church, yeah.
Recycling. So 4 kind of things have really helped guide, I think, what we've been doing and personally what I've been doing in my role. Which is, first of all, clarity.
Yep.
Having clarity about what the mission is, what we're doing, and how we're doing it. That really allows us to be intentional, and it allows us to help to focus, on what we're doing. So that Encounter, Grow, Go, which is what we developed at our parish, is that mission pathway. It's the discipleship pathway to help every person encounter Jesus Christ, grow as this disciple, and go make disciples. So being really intentional about following, using that clarity in everything that we're doing as a parish. And then there's movement. Disciple-making parishes has been, this book particularly, has studied disciple-making churches, not just parishes. And spiritual movement is something that when we're intentional about moving people deeper into conversion, it actually changes things. Things happen by accident all the time. God's accidents,
we would say
right?
Providence.
God's moments.
Yeah.
And so obviously people have conversions all the time. But when parishes and churches are intentional about it, about moving people and helping them to grow in a specific, manner, it is actually very powerful. And I think we're already seeing the fruit of that just in these short 2.5 years I've been working here. And then the third thing is alignment.
There it is.
Aligning every single thing. So, for instance, working with the children's minister, the youth minister, even the operations manager, on...
Yeah, even the building, the financial aspects of the parish, that all of that come together. One thing we do that when I talk to a lot of my brother priests who run parishes, and I say that we have our staff meets weekly. We meet every week for an hour. And some of my brother priests are like, "Whoa, I can't believe, And there's some place, and I'm not. It's not a judgment, but it is just this is what's working for us. That place that meet as a staff like once a month or every other week, and I've kind of thought about that, and then I think no, because what we do, especially now when we're all kind of distant and not allowed to all be in the same room and all these other things, to get everybody together, and in our staff meetings we kind of knock out the calendar, just to make sure we're not stepping on each other's toes or there's not 2 events planned for one room. But then it gives us a chance to, so that the people who run the building or run the business office, they know what is happening in children's ministry and vice versa. Yes. So it's not these kind of, we would say like silos that everyone is in where they're just doing their own thing. And like the business office has nothing to do with youth ministry. Right. And we would say, no, it has a lot to do with it. Yes. So anyway, that kind of that alignment.
Right. Exactly.
And then getting, in our parish, we're not the biggest parish in the world, but we're about 900 families. We have lots of different ministries, different groups.
Yes.
And are they, is everybody on the same page? Does everybody understand what we're doing?
Right.
And that just takes a lot of time and communication and patience and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I think even with the staff, we've been kind of slowly but methodically doing formation. We started with various books when I first started and kind of reading through those. And, it might be a little painful at times even for the staff probably. But
everyone read along.
That's
We're
right.
on page 72. But it helped. It gave us a common language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's been fruitful, I think. And then doing, different staff retreats, just different things to really help align staff, I think is definitely first and foremost, just because we're the ones that are kind of, working in the trenches every day, but
implementing a lot
of what we're doing. Yeah. But then, and then so now I think ministry leaders and that kind of thing, I think that's coming. We've done it a little bit with the Stewardship Council and in different ways, but I think that's coming. But then the final part of that 4-part thing is the focus. And that is, honestly, I think the most difficult.
It's hard.
And it's kind of come up here and there, I think more recently even, where somebody will ask if they can do something. And it's like, it's not that it's not a good thing. There are a lot of things that are good. It's just what is our ultimate goal, know, and what are we really trying to do right now as a parish that, people can do things on their own through form.org. I mean, there's so many beautiful things you can do.
Parish library.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many wonderful things out there you can do. But as a parish, what we're focusing on, that we're offering, is intentional. And so, I think it's been interesting. But
what are we offering now? So somebody rolls in, maybe let's say someone who's kind of like thinks they're like, I'm a pretty advanced. I've been Catholic all my life.
Yep.
I'm pretty well read. I love the Lord. I love the sacraments.
Yeah.
What do you do? What are you going to do for me? What would we do?
Well, I would say that one of the things that's kind of interesting is when we look at something that we are offering, which is, say, Discovering Christ. And that would something what would be probably generally called an entry point, kind of a program. Now, we didn't pick it because it's a program, but it really follows that Encounter, Grow, Go process.
And that's you mentioned earlier, this group called Christ Life.
Yep.
And they have Discovering Christ, Following Christ,
and
Sharing Christ.
Right. So it really fits in well.
Movement.
Yes. Encounter, Grow, Go. So we actually use it. We offer it to the parish every fall, but we also invite our RCIA group to come in because it's a good entry point for them as well. But anyway, so Discovering Christ, you would think would be for somebody who is new to the church or maybe who's fallen away. But actually, I would say somebody that is a devout Catholic who is if they say they're a spiritually mature disciple, we would want them involved as well, because if you're being fed, if you are living a life of prayer and you are being fed in the Eucharist and you feel that call to go deeper, then oftentimes the next step is the go, is to really be equipped to learn how to go make disciples. And Christ Life actually does that because it's teaching us what language do we use to communicate to others about this love we have for our church and for Jesus. And so I would say that is one option for people. As sometimes we look at it as the program is being offered so that I can go personally deeper. And yes, because I think Discovering Christ can make anybody go deeper.
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. It definitely sharing the kerygma, the core gospel message, in a way that is we'd say foundational to our faith.
Yep.
But it is also, it's very beautiful in how it's presented. But then it also gives us the tools to learn how to do this for others, which is always...
Yeah, it really is for anybody.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, Father Carey and I, we talked about this a couple weeks ago of like, everyone needs to, we like assume too much.
Yes.
Sometimes that just because somebody has been a lifelong Catholic, that doesn't mean that they love Jesus.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they even know him.
Yep.
A lot of people may know sort of about, but not know, not have a personal relationship with him.
Yes.
And so we just sort of assume, they're at Mass every Sunday, or they're around, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a depth to the relationship. And so we don't want to assume that there isn't.
Of course.
Nor do we assume that there is. And so anyway, that's where Discovering Christ, which it's been so fun to watch, because you have people who are becoming Catholic sitting right next to somebody who's been Catholic all their life, and they're both having this kind of movement of the heart to know the Lord more. It's cool.
It's really awesome. And, now the fruit of kind of what we did a couple years ago with Discovering Christ, we're seeing with actually our longtime parishioners, where they're facilitating groups themselves now, small groups. So, you come together, there's usually like a meal a video, which is really beautiful teachings. We don't do videos for everything, but it's really good. And then there's the small group discussion. And so the small group discussion is where things really...
Yeah, a lot of community.
Yeah.
You're getting to know other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as a longtime parishioner, like you were saying, the person that comes in and says, I'm faithful, I'm this, I'm that, they would have an opportunity to share that with others, which is really where our faith can just exponentially grow.
And it's what we're supposed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that it's very beautiful. But then also I have witnessed beautiful conversions in longtime Catholics who it's just presented to them in a different way. The faith is presented in a different way than what maybe they've seen before. And when you said, we never want to assume anything, I think that is really important because, the faith oftentimes can be taught informationally. Our formation is it's head knowledge, right? It's catechesis. It's that transformation is what we're really seeking. And that heart, so it's when our head and our hearts are aligned. And so that transformational catechesis is really what we're focusing on. So so Christ life. And so after discovering Christ, there's the next step is called following Christ, which is actually what we're in the middle of right now. And it is awesome because...
And it's like how many people are doing this?
Right now we have, with leaders and facilitators, there's probably around 35 to 40, something like that. The first group we had was really large, because that's how it goes. You just kind of get that big push, and then over time things kind of dwindle. But it's actually a pretty good sized group. It's in COVID, but we're doing hybrid online.
Yeah, some in person, some online.
Yeah, and so we're being really careful with that. But so now we're in Following Christ, which is awesome because it's really teaching people the basics of how to pray, how to pray with Scripture, how to have a daily personal prayer life.
That's where we assume way too much.
I mean,
that people know how
it's a real challenge.
And that's where the idea of movement, helping people. Because if you have a prayer life,
right,
even a kind of an elementary one, and you stick with it,
right,
the fruits are just going to be
Yes.
crazy. But if you don't know how to pray, it's going to be difficult. Even if you have all this head knowledge, it's going to be difficult to know what to do. How do you discern God's will and do what you're supposed to do? And that's amazing.
It's really good. And so, and then we have a couple other things going on. Honestly, like even the invitation to personal prayer, which is one of the things we're doing.
The IPP.
It is, kind of an entry point for how to really pray. And it starts out like, 15 minutes a day of prayer with Scripture. But it teaches people the different types of prayer.
Because not every type of prayer resonates with each type of person.
Yeah. So it kind of gives you those various tools, meditative prayer, contemplative prayer, that kind of stuff. So honestly, I think even sometimes lifelong Catholics that maybe have never been introduced to like Ignatian prayer methods, it can take them a whole other level.
That's
so
awesome.
And then we're planning some St. Joseph consecration groups, which is
starting March 30th.
That's right, that week, and so that's for anybody and everybody.
St. John's is doing that too.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They're doing it. I think they're in it now.
They are,
and it's going to end on March 19th, which is the Feast of St. Joseph.
Yeah.
We're starting at March 30th to end May 1st.
St. Joseph the Worker.
Feast of St. Joseph the Worker. Yeah, multiple feast days. Yeah. But it's so good. So that's something, whoever's listening out there that's coming up. We're going to have varying groups for varying types of people. That's amazing.
And that's another opportunity for alignment, because one of the things that I'm really trying to do is, so anybody that's going to be facilitating groups like that, kind of being consistent with how we're doing facilitating Christ Life, how we're facilitating CCO, how we're Catholic Christian Outreach, another group we're doing, how IPP, all those different things, is just being consistent on how we're presenting it to our facilitators and how they're offering it to others, because it's that outward focus, that prayer focus, that missional kind of
That's
process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So one thing we were talking about was kind of the idea of like testimony.
Yes.
So talk about that, because I think that's where we sometimes don't think of that as like a Catholic idea. When somebody says we should be witnessing to somebody else. Yeah. That sounds, people are like,
bizarre.
That's not Catholic. We don't do that.
Yes.
When in fact we do. I mean, it's not easy, but tell us about that.
So I'm actually in the midst of writing a blog. I haven't written one in a while, my evangelization conversation. So I'm going to go in kind of more in depth into that this week. But so I kind of had this image of the Wizard of Oz lately, and I don't know why. But, the Holy Spirit works in very interesting ways.
You've been traveling to Wichita back and forth.
That's true. I've been going to Kansas a lot. So, it's like it kind of popped in my head actually yesterday. Let's see, what was it? Witness, conversion, and testimony. Oh, my. Because it kind of feels like, evangelization is that we've been placed in this other world.
We'll put that in our little show notes if you're done with it by the time this airs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that sometimes, when we think about evangelization, we've been talking about it quite a bit now, and the church has,
they're getting used to the word.
We're getting a little bit more comfortable with it, but still, it's a challenge, and it's even becoming more challenging, I think, in the culture, that we're in today. Which we love our culture because we're in it, and this is where God placed us. But it is, challenging to talk about truths and talk about faith, in kind of in a culture that's a little, not maybe in line with. There is one truth, and that there is, that kind of stuff. So really, I have been feeling stronger and stronger that testimony, conversion, and witness are kind of three really core things. So I would say witness, would be first, actually, because how we live our lives of faith, what we do daily, what we watch, what we listen to, how we act as a family in public. Obviously we all have challenges in certain situations, but just generally how we are and how we live our Christian faith is core. So that witness, that would be what we would call witness, is very key. The next thing would be conversion, which is obvious, because conversion is where the rubber hits the road. That's where hearts change, and that's where lives are transformed. But there's initial conversion and there's ongoing conversion. That's something I'm going to open up quite a bit more in my talk. But then testimony ties into two of those, and all three together. They all really go hand in hand, because when we have an experience of God and when we are on fire for the faith, you can't help but share it, right? You say it all the time. I say it all the time. You can't give what you don't have. So really, testimony is kind of like the final piece, I would say, of those two, because you want conversion and you really need to be living your faith. But you can't really convince anybody of anything unless at some point you share truth and you talk about your faith. So, but
the messenger has to be convincing.
Pretty much. And then really what that really kind of boils down to for me, and that's something I've been really thinking about more and more, is at some point when somebody has a conversion of faith, if they don't share what it is that has changed in their hearts, if they don't have that testimony, somebody doesn't have the opportunity to choose what you're offering.
To say no to it.
Exactly. And because we are facing more and more, I would say, a little bit more hostility when it comes to like truths, and truths of the faith. The fact that kind of some of our teachings, obviously in our church are they're quite countercultural at times. So debating the faith can actually end pretty negatively, I think, at times. But when you share your experience of God, and when you share how God has worked in your life, in a testimony, typically you start with what happened, what was your life like before a conversion? What happened in that moment that changed you? What kind of encounter did you have? And then how is your life different now? So those kind of 3 steps are really what a testimony is all about.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a skill. It takes
practice.
Something we're trying to learn ourselves and then to teach to others.
Right.
And what's cool about it is it can happen at any age. So we can teach, you can teach a high school kid how to testify. And it's not, sort of standing on you can stand on the street corner. That's cool. But it's to the people that you already know. Yep. Coworkers and classmates. And and I think a lot of times Catholics think it's like it's sort of inherently going to be awkward and like uncomfortable.
But when you're sharing from your heart.
Right, yeah, but it doesn't have to be, especially if you already have that kind of initial trust, that initial relationship.
Yes.
That's so cool. Okay, well, Stacy Humbert.
Father O'Brien.
Wow. This is a good time.
It was
awesome.
This
is a good time. So, evangelize. Get out there. Let's do this.
Amen.
But first we have to encounter the Lord ourselves. So come to Mass. Come to adoration. Read good books. Pray. All right, we are out of here. Father Carey will be back next week, I think. I know, whatever. Who knows who knows where he is and where he's going. Pray for Pope Francis as he heads to Iraq. And join us this weekend. We're still in the season of Lent. We're going to welcome the bishop. It's going to be awesome. We're the Pastors of Pain. Have a great week.